There's a lot of questions on what's going on with Highway 14. And we still have a few ourselves. But as we understand it, the hospitals, or the highway is going to close about where the hospital's at. And will be closed from there up to about Sac Lumber. And so from that stretch, it'll be taken back to dirt. It'll be closed, I believe, this morning. And it will be closed for the next 7 months. So it's a big project. From about the hospital south to about Valley View, they should be going back in with an asphalt overlay. So what they've been doing up to this point is going in and cutting out the sections that are bad in the concrete and replacing those. They should be coming back with an overlay, and they should be doing that one lane at a time. So it is important that we're able to get to golf. We'll be able to do that, is my understanding. So now there's a third part to the Highway 14 project, and that's going to be right outside here on 30. They should be going in there doing a mill and overlay project, but again, mill and overlay is not taking it back to dirt, so it's not going to be huge amounts of time. As I understand it, up to this point they had told us there was going to be two-way traffic going through downtown. Now they're starting to talk about a pilot car, so we're not real sure yet what's happening on 30, but the idea of a pilot car in one-lane traffic, that sounds pretty scary with the amount of volume that we have here, but we'll see. I know they're going to get in there to do some more of the cutting out bad parts of concrete like they did south. So it's kind of hard to tell what's going to be happening downtown. One area that did concern me a bit was that they plan to take the streetlights out and make this a four-way stop sign. So that'll be a little disruptive for us as well. But this is really going to be a summer of disruption for us in Central City anyway. There are a lot of projects going on. Just a lot of infrastructure that we need to address. So as we're doing the highway project with the state, the city is going to be doing our own street projects. So last summer, we did 28th Street, and we did a little bit on 26th Street, and did just over a mile of asphalt mill and overlay projects. So this summer, we've got a little bigger project planned, so we'll be closer to about 2 miles mill and overlay work. So that'll be going on 20th Street from the highway going out towards the ethanol plant. There'll be each of the blocks downtown here off the highway. If it's bad, each of those blocks will be done. So outside here between Waffles and the park, little stretches like that are pretty bad, we'll be addressing those. Then we'll be going up C Avenue and around North Park. And I think that's about all of it. So there's going to be a lot of street work going on this summer on the highways and on our side streets. So that'll begin one of 2 years of disruption. We've talked a little bit about the downtown renovation project, which we asked for an extra ½ cent for on the ballot last fall. Our intent was to start with 2 blocks right here in front of Waffles and the next block, and the block after that. And that was going to be kind of the first phase of the project. That was going to be about a $600,000 project, paid for about half with federal money through the Community Development Block Grant. And we wanted to do this in 2 phases because when you get that money from the federal government, you want to keep that applied to about as small of a project as you can. Because when you use federal money, there's a bit of an upcharge that the contractors put on to do that kind of work because there are strings attached. So when we had a $600,000 project and that was being paid half with federal money, that's a pretty good deal. When we do the entire downtown and it's a $2 million project, now you're applying $300,000 to $2 million. And if the contractors charge 10% more because it's a federal project, then you've just lost $200,000. and that grant isn't quite as effective. So that's what we're in the process right now of evaluating, is what that upcharge is gonna be and whether that grant still makes sense for us. But it is our intent for 2018 to have the downtown renovation project underway. The engineers are working on it now. We'll put it out for bid probably in January, in about 8 months. So we should see that starting in the spring of 18. That's something that we'll have to do a lot of really close coordination with the businesses on, because obviously when we're tearing up the fronts of the sidewalks and the parking lanes, that's gonna have a lot of impact on our downtown businesses. So, that's gonna be another big project for us, and it's gonna kind of cap off 2 years of a lot of disruption in our town to address infrastructure issues. But we know we have a lot of issues with the water lines under the sidewalks here. We know that the sidewalks are in terrible shape. We know we've got a lot of work that needs to get done downtown, so it's just something we have to do. But it is gonna be pretty inconvenient for us. One other project that I think is kind of exciting for us coming up is that we've entered into a contract for our next phase of our solar project. So what you see up north right now is 200 kilowatts of solar, and that's owned by 7 different parties, each at about 25 kilowatts, and then the city owns 25 kilowatts. We just signed a new contract for 500 kilowatts that will be entirely owned by the city. When we started doing these projects, solar was costing about $3 a watt, and we tried to get that price down through the use of tax incentives. So there's a federal tax incentive of 30% for solar projects, and there's ways that businesses can get that cost a little bit lower with depreciation. We put this project out for bid, and we got a bid from a company called GenPro in South Dakota for $1.42 a watt. And this project has trackers included as well. So the panels will sit on a kind of like a pole, and it'll turn during the day to track the sun. So what was $3 2 years ago for a stationary solar is now $1.42 for solar with tracking, which was a real game changer for us. We didn't expect to see that. We also received another $150,000 grant from the Nebraska Environmental Trust. So this $710,000 project that we thought was gonna be $1.5 million is gonna net us, our net cost is gonna be closer to $500,000. So the financials of this worked out really well for us. The solar is gonna allow us to produce energy for about 4.5 cents a kilowatt hour, including the financing. We buy it from NPPD for about 6.5. So we don't necessarily save 6.5 because when we buy power, we buy it in 2 parts. The energy costs something, and then the demand costs something. The demand is your cost for renting the wires. So as we produce power, or as we consume power, our consumption follows these curves. Different parts of the day, we're using more and less. So when you hit this peak, whatever that peak is of the amount of power that you use, that peak is set, and that's what you pay to rent those wires. Even though you're consuming here, you're paying here at your peak. So that solar will bring that peak down a little bit, so we don't have to pay as much for renting the wires, but we won't get all of that. So what we're expecting is that we'll save about just under 5 cents a kilowatt hour, and it'll cost us about 4.5 to produce it. So the financials on this work really well for us. The most important thing from my perspective is that price is fixed for the life of the project. So what we've taken is a piece of our energy that we have to purchase and fix the price for the long term. So if somebody came, it's like if somebody came to you and said, would you like to fix the price of gas, that you pay for gasoline for the next 20 years? Would you like to fix that? And that's kind of what we did with our electricities. We took what's going to end up being about 4% of our production and fixed that cost. So for me, that's kind of exciting. We don't get to go to the ratepayers and say, we lowered your rates, but we do get to say that we took a piece of it and fixed it so it doesn't go up as fast. Dark Island Park. So if you haven't heard of this, this is the project that we worked with the advanced leadership class at the high school on. And so we acquired, as the city, all of the railroad property from Highway 30 to the river. The piece that's between the highway and 20th Street, as you know, is pretty wide. It's at least a block wide. That's a lot of space that's sitting there empty. So we've had the opportunity to take a piece of land and basically have a blank slate and say, what in the world would you like to do with this? As we know, the new theater is taking up a small piece of it. But what we'd like to do is make that just a recreational center of the community. And something that's so substantial that people from the whole region might want to come and see it and use it. So we went to the advanced leadership class and we said, sky's the limit, throw any idea you want at it, lay it out on paper, present it to the city council. They spent a semester working on that and presented it. It includes a lot of neat things. Some of them I have no idea what they were before they presented them. There's some game where you play pool with your feet, and I don't remember what it was called. There was a ball that looked like an octagon. It looked like dodgeball in an octagon. I don't know if it looked real safe, but we're talking about miniature golf and picnic shelters and horseshoe pits and basketball courts and just anything that we can think to throw onto this property. So that if a family was coming from some other town and they said, we want to spend a day in Central City, they could bring the family and there would be something there for anybody to do of any age. And then they could rent a bike. We're working on a bike rental program there. They could rent a bike, ride down to the river, check out the bridge, come back, use the recreational facilities. As evening came, they could watch a movie at the theater, either one of the theaters. They could go out to eat, and a family could spend a whole day in Central City finding fun things to do. And you know, I know when my kids were a little closer to this height, you know, when Saturday came, we'd say, well, where can we go spend a day? And we might go to Kearney and go to Yanni Park, or we try and think of some place to go to spend the day. We'd like Central City to be that place that people say, well, let's go there because they've got a lot of neat stuff to do. So Dark Island Park is going to be hopefully a priority project for us in the next year or two. I've asked the council to allow me to develop a budget and then a number that I need to shoot for grant funds. So if I put together a budget of $600,000 and I can get $400,000 from outside the community, can I go ahead with the project? And it sounds like they're probably going to agree to those terms, and we'll start doing the fundraising side of it. So that won't be asking anybody here for money. That will be fundraising outside of the community. So that's a project that I hope that, you know, if we have the new downtown, if we have the new Dark Island Park facility, if we've got the new theater and the State Theater running, we really start to get this this critical mass of neat things to do here that really attract more visitors and ultimately, we hope, attract more residents. So, you know, one of the questions that I always ask myself as I'm doing my job is, why would somebody want to live here? And it sounds like kind of a mean question or a negative question, but that's the question that's really the core to doing a job like mine or to working for the city, is giving reasons why people are going to select Central City instead of selecting Aurora or Wood River or any other towns around here. What is it that causes people to want to come here over all those? because I've said many times before, we're a product in the market. And we need to make sure we